with Rousimar Palhares, like I think with someone like him, he may need to be banned from the UFC. It might be seen that he needs to be banned from the UFC because that's a bigger league.
Yeah.
But ironically, for some reason in Jiu-Jitsu, even if he's the guy that holds on to the heel hook for a long time, you got people that want to compete against him.
Mm-hmm.
There's a World Jiu-Jitsu Festival coming up this weekend. And he's fighting. It seems like it's only the Don Death Squad that are willing to take him on.
Crazy. Conan already did, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And how do you guys feel about that with him being banned from UFC? Or is there anything you can share opinion-wise, like why Jiu-Jitsu's accepting that over MMA?
I have no clue.
Yeah. I appreciate that honest answer.
I think it's a no tolerance policy, just like Paul Daly when I think to put them in a different class as opposed to the whole stereotypical image of the barroom, the Valley Tudo, where all things go. And so even though I think it's a class to show sportsmanship by doing that, by using him as an example of what happens when you show bad sportsmanship, which is potentially ending someone's career.
Right, because I guess it's just a higher caliber of pay scale,
higher
and
podium. Yeah,
you're right, and a lot of people see it more.
Yeah,
I just to me as a white belt, I just find it so ironic, guys, that I thought it would be the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jiu-Jitsu would be like, no, fuck you, we're done with you.
Right.
Go.
Yeah.
But UFC, MMA, there's the ability to punch, strike, and do so much other numerical things to physically hurt him or counter him. I thought UFC would be welcoming that. You know, it's just weird, but I appreciate the explanation.
Maybe takes you back to those days when Ken Shamrock would be known for ending people's careers for holding too long, leg lock. But I think people are more educated and they're aware that it's not just a platform to fight, but to showcase martial arts in its best form. And that also includes sportsmanship, which is like respecting your opponent for stepping in the cage. And when the fight ends, it's supposed to end. It shouldn't go beyond that. Right. That's the equivalent of maybe ear biting or something.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think he's going to be a consistent draw in jiu-jitsu tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
Palhares? Well, I think it's just for the negative now. People want to see him get smacked around big time. I think it just can get dangerous right now.
You mean it's more in the theory of I want to see this guy lose?
Absolutely.
That's why it's kind of like Howard Stern.
Right.
Like half the audience or a good portion of the audience were because they hated him.
Right.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about him having a long career in jiu-jitsu, even though if he's a dirty fighter?
Like you said, it's the draw. It's selling the tickets. It's getting and it's the morbid thing about us just wants to see that. They want to see him get hurt. You do.
But the question, sorry to interrupt, but the question is he really a dirty fighter? Maybe if he really was a dirty fighter, I think there would be some word in the grappling academy or grappling studio to second that, to support his behaviors and actions in the tournament. It could be just that maybe he's just a special kind of fighter, as opposed to playing the heel. But someone who just like I remember listening to an interview with Mike Tyson. When you turned it on, the animal instincts, it's on, and for him maybe that's how it was. And even despite the taps or anything, he's just that type of fighter. But there are rules, and then the UFC enforce those rules. But that's what makes him such an interesting fighter to see, in my opinion. Just because feels like he is very, I wouldn't say animalistic, but he knows what he wants. He goes for it, and he gets really invested in the submission hold.
Yeah, because, ironically, I feel like he's becoming more respectful now that he's been doing jiu-jitsu tournaments. Where with MMA, he'd be like, oh, what? It's only a heel. It's only a knee.
Yeah.
What?
No.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it felt like maybe he had to go back to understand, the etiquette. Not even lineage of being a good grappler, a citizen grappler, but just dude, there's etiquette here.
I don't know, though. It's like you watch him and you just wonder if it's just like a ticking time bomb. You know what I mean? You just kind of wonder. It always seems like it's there somewhere,
Oh, so you feel this is just temporary?
Yeah.
He's caging his
I think he's
natural
toning it down and
steam.
if he gets pissed off again, I'm sure that's his next option for sure.
And it's ironic because someone of his monster stature, when he gets called out for it, he mouses. He goes, "What?"
Yeah.
I don't know.
UFC, right? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
At UFC, he mouses at the reaction. It's not like, I'm going to get you again, bitch. He doesn't do any of that. Like, he completely mouses. So I feel like because he's had such a torrid past, maybe it's like a personality disorder.
Could be.
Because
who he is.
Yeah, for him to react like that, I was just like, did you guys get to catch one of the, I think I sent two things.
Oh, the spinning back fist?
Right, and the other one was the Paul Harris effect, when competitors don't release on the tap.
Yeah.
So I wanted to expound more since we started with Rousimar, and we have about 7 minutes left. Is it the responsibility of the person applying the submission, or is it more the responsibility of the person receiving the submission?
I kind of think it's both. First thing that pops in my head.
If both, since I want to concentrate on you, Chris.
Sorry.
What's the percentage break or circumstantial example you could give of both?
That's a great question. I couldn't answer that. But just think, the person applying the submission, if they wanted to, they could just go ham, right off the bat.
Sure.
So it's like, that this is a bad move I have you in, and you're incrementally, pulling them apart. So I think it's really both.
Okay.
Because the guy, I don't know. Yeah.
How about you, Sam?
I feel like doing different circumstances, different rules apply. Like in your gym, where you train with your brothers and your sisters, and I think it's up to the person who's applying to be first responsible. Although the problem happens where, in my opinion, is when ignorance and ego come into play. And when
on both ends, right?
On both ends. And so that's the gray area where the injuries happen. Like, you have no malice to hurt somebody, but because of, let's just say you're in this pure state of rolling, and your opponent, they're smashing you, but you get a hold of, let's say, a limb, and then, they, for whatever reason, don't want to tap. Either they don't can identify the submission that you're putting on them, or they don't want to tap, or they want to give themselves a chance. It's a gray area, but I think a lot of injuries can be prevented if you can differentiate, when to apply full force. Because I think to a certain extent you need to experience a full force, just to know your limitations.
As far as you can go without,
But with the proper partners.
Okay.
But in tournament, I think it should be. Yeah, I think it'd be funny to just be worried about what how I apply the submission. All I care about is finishing.
That's true.
And
Okay. Well, okay. So this is the white belt portion of you advising me to make it uber personal and niche down. Is it bad that I overtapped? I've trained with you the most, and you're not frustrated because you're a kind guy. But a lot of what Sam tells me is like, dude, go hard on me. Mm-hmm. And I don't do it because I'm going to destroy Sam. It's not even like that. Right. So for the dum-dums who are misconstruing that, it's more like I'm respecting the dude who's giving me the free lesson.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like because I'm off injured, I tap even to an extent, sometimes way too early. You've rolled with me. Sometimes I go, I know you have that. In compliment, right? Because
I think it's perfect. I think you're playing the perfect game. It's the ego part is out. That's
okay.
Why that's the equation. Ego plus ignorance. And so because you don't have the ego, and you always have that mindset of trying to learn something. Yeah, it's more unlikely for you to be injured as opposed to someone who's just fresh out of high school basketball team. Just trying jiu-jitsu for the first time and want to test his, testosterone. So that's in that terms, it's much respect. I think it takes time to develop control of your ego.